to Lima. So I've been down here in Lima for the past month now, and it has definitely been a very interesting trip, to say the least. And basically the whole point of this trip was for me to see if I could live in another South American country outside of Ecuador. And what I can say about Lima is that it's interesting. Lima is a unapologetically metropolitan city. It is just huge. There are people, buildings, cars especially, just everywhere. It's a city of nearly 10 million people, and so it's crowded. At the same time, it's not like a terrible place to live. I think my biggest problem with Lima has to be the traffic congestion. Like seriously, there are times where you'll just be sitting in traffic for 20 minutes, just sitting there. And then on the flip side, you know, when things do get moving, it's so like almost, how can I say, it's crazy. It's crazy. People here can't drive. Like the driving here is terrible. You kind of have to fear for your life. The few times I've taken a taxi ride, I thought I was going to die. I wish that was an exaggeration, but no, it's hardcore here. But you know, I think one of my most favorite things about Lima is that even though this is such a big city and there's just buildings and asphalt everywhere, like, you know, you have these wonderful green spaces and they're just dotted all over the place. Like, you have these beauty spots that really show that they took the time out to craft the city to be both urban, but at the same time not get in the way of all the nature. And it's like, behind all the traffic, all the havoc that happens between Monday through Friday, you know, just that big city congestion, that metro life that people from New York, Vegas, LA would understand. You have, when you come to the weekends and you can just venture out and just go places, you know, fairly easily because the traffic dies down, you really get to see that Lima is a very beautiful place. The wealth disparity is just kind of amazing. Like, parts of the city you would go to and you would see people driving BMWs, Lexus, I was about to say Bugatti, Audis, and all sorts of like fancy modern cars. And then at the same time, you go to another part of the city and you see these old like Volkswagens from the 60s, for example. And it's just that disparity in the wealth that's kind of amazed me. Now, when I started this trip, I mentioned that I didn't want to really see the touristy areas. I wanted to see the real Lima. And my buddy Ronaldo, who's from here, he basically became like my tour guide. He took me around and he showed me the really awesome, wealthy areas, and at the same time, he also showed me the real Lima.
Not all of them. This is part of it.
Rich, poor. Wow. Just a highway across. Rich and the poor. So which one are you, Ronaldo? Which side are you on? like, you know, getting to see those two extremes, like, you know, the wealthy, the middle class, the poor, it just reminded me that, you know, Lima is a very big city. There's a huge variety to it, and it definitely makes life here interesting because you have all these different dynamics, and yet they're all within just a few miles from each other. Cuenca is just such a smaller, much smaller city. I think all of Cuenca could probably fit into like a section of Lima because this place is just so big. It's crazy. The thing about Lima is that, you know, it has its pros, it has its cons, and everywhere has its cons, right? There's no such thing as the perfect place. But in terms of how much do the cons outweigh the pros, I'd say it's fairly balanced. Like, I think, like I said, my biggest problem would be getting like used to the traffic, but otherwise, like, you know, I think it's a great place. If Lima was like how it is every Sunday and every holiday, I think I'd love this place, because like Sundays and holidays, like, virtually just dies around here. Like, there are way less cars on the road. You see people walking around and they're in the parks and they're just having a good time, enjoying family life. And if Lima was like that all the time, I think I'd love it here. But because it's not like that all the time, because 90% of the time it's just horns and horns and horns and horns and more horns, yeah, then yeah, that would take some definite getting used to. I've come to learn that my actual tastes are having a place that, you know, it's not too big, it's not too small, where there's enough people for you to realize that you're not alone, but you don't have to feel like claustrophobic. Where if you want to relax, you can do that, but if you want to have fun, you can just get up and have fun. You know, a place that's affordable, safe, and has beautiful scenery, and I guess I'm probably asking for too much. Kind of sounds like it would be the perfect place to live, and there's no such thing as a perfect place, but oh, would you look at that? How's it going, buddy? You good? You good? Hola. 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 Has just like totally mesmerized me completely. Like, I just love everything about Cuenca. I've been there for a whole year now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I just think it's an amazing city, and it meets all the criteria that I'm looking for. And I know this video is called Latin versus Latin, but it's, in a way, it's kind of disingenuous because you can't really compare Cuenca and Lima because they're two totally different beasts. Cuenca is a small city, Lima is a massive metropolitan jungle. So, like, in every way, shape, and form, these cities are basically just two different extremes. But if I really just had to pick between the two, it would definitely be Cuenca. I like Lima, but Cuenca just wins, hands down. But I mean, all things said and done, I really enjoyed this trip. It was exciting to meet all sorts of new people because I knew nobody before I came here. Now I've made a ton of friends. And speaking of people, I just want to thank my buddy Ronaldo because he was great on this trip. He showed me all these different spots and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ronaldo, for all your help. We are walking through the city with suitcases. I think this is the Peruvian way. Would you say that, Ronaldo?
Well,
is this the Peruvian way?
I'm not sure. You know, this
this is technically, you can do this with a Peruvian, not yourself.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again in the next vlog. Ciao.